Okay, so we're going to read one of my favorite books growing up. I love this book. It's called The Grandpa Tree. It is in black and white, but the cover is in color, which I think is really pretty. So here we go, The Grandpa Tree. One day, a bird was flying through the sky with a seed in its mouth when a moth flew by. The bird dropped the seed and caught the moth. The seed fell to the ground, rains came, and the seed soon began to grow. Tiny green branches stretched toward the sun. The sun was good to the new tree. His tiny branches became bigger and stronger and stretched even further towards the sun. Soon, summer was over and fall came. Fall was a fun time for the tree. All day long, a breeze would toss dry leaves onto the little tree's branches. The little tree would shake until the leaves would once again fall into the wind. Play ended as snow came. Snow fell and got deeper and deeper until the little tree was covered. Seasons came and went. Years went by and the little tree grew into a big tree. Squirrels played in his branches, birds built their nests, and baby birds sang their first song. Pine cones grew and fell from the big tree. Soon, around him, new baby trees were stretching their tiny green branches towards the sun. The big tree grew until he was the biggest tree in the forest. His strong branches wrestled with the fierce winter winds, slowing them down and making them play gently with the baby trees below. Armloads of snow piled high on his boughs, while little handfuls rested gently on the small young branches. During the hot summer suns, the big tree's long branches reached out with the shade for the tender young trees. As the big tree grew old, the baby trees grew up. Squirrels played in their branches, birds built their nests, and baby birds sang their first songs. Pine cones grew and fell from the new trees. Soon, their baby trees were stretching their tiny green branches towards the sun. The branches of the old grandpa tree were no longer needed by the younger ones. What they needed now was room to grow. One at a time, the old grandpa tree dropped his great branches to the ground, making room for the younger trees. The younger trees grew until they were the greatest trees in all the forest. One winter day, the old grandpa tree began to rock and creak in the wind. He called to all of the younger trees and said, "Once I was the greatest tree in all the forest, just as you are now. My branches were big and strong. They could wrestle with the fiercest of the winter winds, hold up under the heaviest snow, and block the hottest sun. You were the baby trees then, and I watched you grow. As your branches grew strong and needed more room, mine dropped to the ground." Now, this book is so old. I'm sorry, the picture's a little distorted. Now I am needed on the ground to be a home for rabbits and food for flowers. So, my children, remember the youth as they need room to grow. Leave them a world where their branches can spread as freely and greatly as yours do now. At that moment, a great wind swept through the forest, and crash, the grandpa tree fell to the ground. Soon, a mother rabbit was building a home under the grandpa tree, and baby rabbits were playing on his trunk. Ants were building their home also, biting little bits of sawdust and dropping them from their doorstep. The sawdust mixed with dirt and became food for flowers. Soon the old tree was surrounded by beautiful colors. More rabbits played on his trunk, and more ants dropped sawdust from their doorsteps. The old grandpa tree became just a brown streak in the ground. One day, a bird flew through the sky with a seed in its mouth. A moth flew by, and the bird dropped the seed and caught the moth. The seed landed right beside the old grandpa tree. Rains came back, and soon little green branches were stretching towards the sun. The end. Okay, so I love this book because it kind of talks about a bunch of different ecological or biological concepts. Those are big fancy words. That basically, this book is talking about the life cycle of a tree and kind of the life cycle of a forest in general. And it, once a tree is growing and grows tall and goes through its life and then it falls down, you might think, oh, well, its life is over. But that's actually not true. As we found out through this book, even a fallen tree can grow in different ways. So even when it's breaking down and it's becoming kind of gross and nasty and maybe something that you wouldn't necessarily want to climb on, that is providing a home or a habitat for a lot of different animals. And so I hope this kind of gives you a different perspective when you're walking in a park by trees, or if you're walking in a forest or you're going on a hike. I want to challenge you guys to look around at the trees and try and see which ones you think are older, which ones you think are younger, and see, if you can find any decomposing trees or any trees that have fallen down and are breaking down and becoming nutrients in the soil. Okay, so another thought that came into my brain while I was reading this book, I automatically thought about my grandpa. He is just the cutest and the sweetest and the most awesome guy. I love him very much. He's such a hoot. He cracks me up all the time. And I've been trying to get into a habit during this kind of weird quarantine time of calling him and my grandma at least every other day, if not every day. So hopefully hopefully you guys watching this video, maybe you can go ask mommy or daddy if you can call your grandparents or your family, maybe that are stuck being quarantined elsewhere and you can't see them, because it is kind of a lonely time for a lot of people, and I know that they would love hearing from you or even seeing your beautiful faces.